as far as the ICJ trial starts, we'll kind of kick that off. Today, we were witness to one of the greatest shows of hypocrisy in history, compounded by a series of false and baseless claims. The claims? Shit that Israel posted themselves. South Africa, which is functioning as the legal arm of the Hamas terrorist organization. I don't know how you would make that claim. Utterly distorted the reality in Gaza following the October 7th massacre and completely ignored the fact that Hamas terrorists infiltrated Israel, murdered, executed. They did not. They acknowledged that. Yeah. Going through all like the barbarism. Yep. Simply because they were Israelis in an attempt to carry out genocide. South Africa seeks to allow Hamas to return to commit the war crimes against humanity, and sexual crimes they committed repeatedly on October 7th, as its leaders have stated. Hamas's representatives in the court, the South African lawyers, were also ignoring the fact that Hamas uses civilian population in Gaza as human shields. No, they didn't. They accurately pointed out that they're not human shields. Operates from within hospital, schools, UN shelters, mosques, and churches with the intention of endangering the lives of residents in the Gaza Strip. Yeah, endangering them from what? I love this idea of, like, they're putting them in danger. What's the danger? Oh, it's you. Oh, never mind. 136 hostages are being held in Hamas captivity. That's interesting that you're not interested in getting them back, though. The State of Israel will continue to protect its citizens in accordance with international law. Nope. While distinguishing between Hamas terrorists and the civilian population, except that all of your Israeli spokespersons do not do that, and will do anything in its power to release all hostages, except or not, eliminate the Hamas terrorist organization, a racist and anti-Semitic terrorist group that calls for the in its convention for the destruction of the state of Israel and the murder of Jews. No, it doesn't. Maybe the apartheid state of Israel, but not for the murder of Jews. Yeah. Cope.
And now let's also talk about that. Now we're talking about genocide. And now South Africa is bringing that kind of a trial. Maybe South Africa ought to sit this one out when they're talking about criticizing.
Hey, maybe sit your ass down. How about that? Takes an apartheid state to know an apartheid state, or a former apartheid state to know one. One of my friends, I was talking to him about this, and he said, like, his dad went through a stroke and became more, like, violent in his, like, in his language, right? Became much more, like, unhinged. But, again, I would prefer us not take the low-hanging fruit of, you had a stroke and now you're a fucking genocide enjoyer. No. John Fetterman's just a piece of shit. This is not leadership. This is not, like, integrity. This is not standing for what's right. I would, and I said this on Twitter last night, I would commit Sudoku to see my leaders display even a fraction of Lula and his integrity, of his commitment to justice. What's the Lula saying? They can cut down 1,000 roses, but they'll never stop the coming of spring?
It is becoming ever clearer that huge swathes of Gaza, entire towns, villages, refugee camps, are being wiped from the map. As you have heard, but it bears repeating, according to the World Food Programme, 4 out of 5 people in the world in famine or a catastrophic type of hunger are in Gaza right now.
There was a Palestinian caller on the Majority Report yesterday that has family in Gaza. One of their family members is part of the medical staff at one of the remaining hospitals.
The kids in Gaza have trauma beyond their endurance, so these kids haven't slept in 2-3 months.
And her family member in Gaza described the condition of children, the complex PTSD that these children have is causing children to die from going into cardiac arrest when they hear these bombs go off, because of the consistent trauma that they've been subjected to their entire lives, but especially over the last 4 months. When they hear these bombings, when they hear the shots, they go into a panic mode and die from cardiac arrest. Not only are they starving, not only are they injured, not only are they traumatized, but they are weakened by all of this to the point that being so scared that you die from a heart attack as a child. That is the conditions they are subjecting them to. Let's look at a little bit of the coverage. Here's BBC.
Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Samantha Simmons. We start in The Hague, and the International Court of Justice there is holding the first hearing today, where it will consider whether Israel is committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. This is the scene live inside the court right now. While South Africa brought the case to the court, Israel has forcefully rejected the accusation, claiming it's acting in self-defense.
Canada's been asked to participate in the trial, and Liberals, the party, is in debate because the claim Israel does genocide is baseless, they said. That's what America said too.
This is South Africa's chance to present its case. Tomorrow, Israel will have 3 hours to present its defense. Israel has denied any wrongdoing. They want the judges to do a number of things, including ask Israel to immediately cease its military action in Gaza.
Genocide is a crime committed with the intent to destroy a national, ethnic, racial or religious group in whole or in part. That, South Africa says, is what Israel is doing in Gaza. Just look at the statistics. Israel has killed more than 23,000 Palestinians. More than 300,000 housing units have been damaged or destroyed. And around 85% of the population has been displaced. Then there's the question of Israel's intent. Look at what Israeli politicians have been saying since October the 7th. Israel's president. It's an entire nation out there that's responsible. Its hardline Minister for National Security. They're all terrorists and they should also be destroyed. And the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. We all have one common goal, erasing the Gaza Strip from the face of the earth.
The right of self-defense can be invoked when a state is threatened by another state, which is not the case. Israel has not claimed that has been threatened by another state. It's been threatened by an armed group, qualify it the way you want, but it's an armed group within the occupied territory. And frankly, even saying the war between Gaza and Israel is wrong, because Gaza is not a standalone entity, it's part of the occupied territory. But so, in particular, Israel cannot claim the right of self-defense against a threat that emanates from the territory it occupies.
I love her so much. Like, if Time magazine doesn't want to have Palestinian journalists like as their like person of the year, it should be Francesca. I always want to call her Teresa.
Well, South Africa will take it to the Security Council for enforcement. If the Americans veto Security Council enforcement, which they will probably do, based on, their veto in the Nicaragua case, South Africa can then take it to the UN General Assembly under the Uniting for Peace resolution and have the UN General Assembly adopt severe sanctions against Israel, which would include, for example, suspending Israel from participation in the activities of the UN General Assembly, exactly what they did to the criminal apartheid regime in South Africa. Second, the General Assembly can admit Palestine as a UN member state. Right now, Palestine is a UN observer state, just like Switzerland was before it became a full-fledged UN member state. Historically, no UN member state has been destroyed, and it's obvious that the Netanyahu government, all its ministers, want to destroy Palestine and the Palestinians.
So, to review and kind of sum it up for you, because this guy's old, okay? If they are found guilty of genocide, and Israel's like, well, fuck y'all, we're going to continue doing it anyway, it will go to the UN Security Council. America will veto it, and then it will go to the General Assembly, where sanctions will be put on Israel.
South Africa's filed this 84-page lawsuit against Israel, accusing them of genocide. Israel said that this is blood libel. Does Washington agree? And where does this put Washington and Pretoria in?
We find this submission meritless, counterproductive, and completely without any basis in fact whatsoever.
Yeah, it's counterproductive to the fucking military-industrial complex getting more money from Israel by giving them more loans and contracts and money. It's counterproductive, y'all. Okay? The wheels of the war machine got to turn, and you're trying to fucking put a fucking stick in the spokes.